podcast. Welcome to a Thanksgiving Eve edition of the Warner Brothas podcast. Actually, I am Kyle, joined by my brother Keenan. Keenan, how you doing?
I'm good. I've been watching a lot of basketball today. Basketball has been amazing. Been a lot of great games, a lot of great players showing up. So league's been great, but obviously Thanksgiving, we know what time it is. It's football time. It's one of the biggest football days of the year, aside from the Super Bowl opening Sunday. It's huge, huge.
It's the kickoff of the part of the schedule that really separates the boys from the men, the real from the fake. It's equally my favorite time of year when it comes to football, or like the best time of year. But also, it makes me sad because I know it's like the stretch run. But I mean, we still really got 3 months left, really, or 2.5 months of football left. So I mean, we still got quite a bit of time, but it does make me sad we're entering week 12. But
Yeah.
like I said, this really separates the real from the fake, the boys from the men. So I can't wait. We got a pretty entertaining Thanksgiving slate, which is not always the case. So, and we got a Black Friday game, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it's going to be weird because we've got football Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. So it's kind of not that anyone's complaining about having football 5 days, but it's a little odd because especially you're not used to the Friday games. The Fridays throw you off. That's like FCS college football and high school football on Fridays. So it's a little weird, but
it's cool. I can't wait to see it's the NFL, so eventually they'll definitely have 2 games going on Black Friday at some point. But it'll be cool. I mean, it's not the best game, Dolphins Jets, but I mean, you saw their intent. Eventually, originally it was going to be Tua versus Aaron Rodgers as far as QBs go. Now we get Tua versus Tim Boyle. So is what it is.
Check out the last pod how we feel about Tim Boyle. But
yeah, exactly. We'll get to see Tyreek at least gain some yardage. So that'll be cool. It'll basically be a Miami Dolphins highlight reel. If the Jets happen to win that game, shocked will be an understatement. There's no way they win that game. So Tua would have to throw something like 7 picks for them to win that game. I think if Tua threw 5 picks, they'd still be in that game. Honestly, there's no way they lose this game.
Yeah, I just don't see. All they have to do is get to 17, and they've almost locked up a win. Kind of thing.
I'd say 10.
So, yeah,
Zach Wilson struggled to get to 10. They had only 2 touchdowns going into this past game in the given weeks, and one of those touchdowns was when Philly let him run it in a few weeks back. So I mean,
I think it was it was an incredible amount of drives. I can't remember how many drives it was. I want to say 34. That's mentally, I want to say 34 was the number of drives they had between touchdowns, which is nuts.
You could have told me 94 and I'd believe it. So I mean, either way with them,
which is yeah. But without further ado, we can get right into these Thanksgiving picks, which bleed right into the Black Friday, into the great week of football we've got ahead. We've actually got a lot of good division games and a lot of good games this week. So
it's a very interesting week to me because, like I said, Thursday usually, I was thinking about this on my ride home. It seems like obviously the 12, I think it's 12:30 and 4:00. It's always the Lions and the Cowboys, but it seems like next year it would be like an off-brand game. It could be Cowboys and Broncos, and it could be Lions and whoever. But it almost seems like every other year it switches. It's one year it's that, and then the next year it's Lions versus Packers, and then Cowboys versus Commanders. Because it seems like the Cowboys never get the Giants or the Eagles on Thanksgiving. It's always the Commanders when it's in division, and the Lions, it seems like it's always either the Vikings or the Packers when it's in division, and especially the Packers. It seems like those two in particular, the Packers and the Commanders, are always the opposing teams. And then, the Sunday night games, whatever, or the Thursday night game, I should say, is whatever they decide. It's usually some sort of premier matchup. But this, I mean, Lions, Packers don't have the best record, but still a good game. Packers are kind of coming along here as far as their offense, so it'll be at least competitive. Commanders usually give the Cowboys a game, especially on Thanksgiving. I think the Cowboys are going to win. I mean, we'll get to all that, but 3 divisional games on Thursday.
Yep.
and then we get a good 1 o'clock game in the Texans and Jags. Everything else is kind of just like weird. They're good matchups, good games, but not good teams necessarily, but they should all be close games. You could tell me any
Mm,
sort of outcome with a lot of these. And then 4 o'clock, same thing, but we also get Eagles Bills. So I mean, we get a pretty good slate between Thursday having some games. Yeah, they're not great on Sunday, but you got, like I said, you got that 1 o'clock game, that 1 4 o'clock
yep.
game, and then the Sunday night game, Ravens Chargers. That should be at the least entertaining. That should be a good game at
Yep.
least. Monday
Yep.
night, Vikings Bears, not the greatest, but so I
I don't
like how
think
they did
it
the
could be
schedule.
decent. It actually
Yeah,
could be a decent game.
entertaining at least. That's the thing. Like we've had some really bad primetime games, but we're at least going to get an entertaining Monday night game,
I was gonna say
entertaining Sunday
Dobbs
night
and
game.
Fields could doesn't say division game. The Bears have been more interesting. They're more interesting with Fields because they can put up some points. They're not world beaters or anything like that, but they can put up some points. And Fields is bound to give you one play where you kind of drop your jaw. And then Dobbs is just a fun guy to root for. So that
For
Monday
sure.
night game, as not appetizing as the Bears going to Minnesota looks, I don't think is going to be a terrible game, which is good.
Yeah, I mean the Vikings have playoff implications. Like we said, they're at least entertaining teams.
Yep.
So yeah, decent all around. We'll get right to it though. Packers at Lions. Lions are a 7.5 point favorite. Um, it's weird because Thursday night games prior to Thanksgiving, you tend to get duds. Uh, most of the Thursday night games this year, I think, haven't been that great. Right? We talked about that
Mm-hmm.
last Thursday going into the Ravens Bengals, and then we knew what happened with that game. At
Yep.
least that game will be memorable for the wrong reasons, unfortunately, but it was memorable, I guess. But it seems like after Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving and going forward, that the Thursday night games get a different energy to them when they start to pick up for whatever reason
Yep.
that is, starting with this week. All that to say, I think this is going to be a 28-24 game in the Lions' favor. I think we get a good one, a shootout during the lunch hours here on the East Coast for that game. So, yeah, I think Lions take care of business.
I have it 26-20 Detroit. I do think that they win this game. As I said, for the last part when we were doing picks for them, I think that they're going to be better this week than they were last week against the Bears. I thought that the Bears game was going to be close because they were more so not maybe looking ahead, but preparing themselves for Thanksgiving. National stage, big game, kind of wanting to cement yourself in front of a lot of people watching too. And it's Thursday. I mean, Thanksgiving games are big. Like, regardless of whatever, I know it's a regular season game, but they're big games. It's Thanksgiving. Like, those are legendary games. And you're playing for a legendary Thanksgiving franchise. So,
I mean, in a
fair,
way,
they are
yeah. I mean,
for just for Thanksgiving itself. Like, they're a legend. They always are on Thanksgiving. You're going to get eyes. They're a legendary Thanksgiving franchise for the fact that they play all the time. The Lions aren't a legendary
I
franchise.
mean,
Don't get me wrong.
I
They're
don't know
not
if
very
I'd
good.
call them legend. I mean, I guess it's like they definitely are grandfathered in. I mean, this is
So a
definitely
legacy Thanksgiving
legacy.
franchise.
I
A
mean,
legacy.
because I would say
Legacy. I would say.
this, to my memory, this is their biggest Thanksgiving Day game ever. I mean, normally when it's Packers Lions in the past, it's usually like an Aaron Rodgers showcase. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
my biggest memory, and I'm sure there's plenty, but my biggest memory from this matchup in years past would be the Ndamukong Suh stomp game.
Yeah.
That's the one that sticks out to me as far as Packers Lions. Um, I agree with you though. I think the Lions are going to try to put on a show here. I mean, they dominated the Packers last time they played. Um, so I would not be surprised if it is like a 31-14 type of game. I do think
Yep.
the Packers are coming along though. I think they do make it a competitive game. You would think that, again, given that Sunday to Thursday, that maybe it's a little bit low scoring. A lot of these games, I mean, we mentioned these first games here, the Lions. A lot of those games are boring. Like I honestly
Mm.
usually find that the 4:15 and then the primetime games are usually the better ones on Thursday. But
Yeah.
hey, maybe we get a good one here at the least. Like you said, the Lions are definitely going to try to at least put on a show here, I believe.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get a high scoring game, 28-24. I said. You have any more comments on Packers Lions?
The only you were talking about the most memorable Packers Lions Thanksgiving game. For me, the most memorable Thanksgiving Lions game was a Calvin Johnson. He had 11 for a buck 46 and 2 touchdowns against the Bears. And the reason why that was more memorable to me was because Calvin Johnson wasn't doing a whole lot for like Calvin Johnson standards that season. Like he was good, but he wasn't like Calvin Megatron Johnson. And in our fantasy league, there was there was a little bit of controversy. So the Austin quit mid-year. How you didn't know that?
He quit. How do you quit mid-year? How do you even quit a league?
Austin,
how are you? Time out. Like Austin, Austin's a friend of the show. How are you invited back to the league after you quit? How does that happen? That's usually like if you're gone, you're gone.
So it's because of pretty much who replaced him and how it kind of went. So basically, Ira went this girl, her name was Chelsea. She went to Plymouth State. Ira dated her a little bit, and then afterwards, she was like a friend. We needed a spot in the league. We didn't know who to ask. She was there. Her first pick was an injured Jamal Charles for the year. Her second pick was Phillip Rivers.
Time out.
Yep.
That is, no offense here. But at that time, I was still your brother. You didn't think like, oh shit, like Kyle likes football. Like y'all resorted to whoever.
You didn't want. No,
that's true. You're completely right. You're actually let me interrupt myself and you. You're right. I wanted nothing to do with fantasy football up until the Brady era ended. So
you wanted nothing to do with it.
I probably would have definitely would have turned you down. So
trust me, I would have asked you if I would. You had adamantly said every year I'm not doing fantasy football, and then
that's
like 3 years ago, you're like I'm thinking I might start. And then you started, and then you picked up in like a work league, and then you're like, Keenan, if you have a spot in your league, let me know.
I was gonna do a work league once upon a time. I was supposed to be the 12th guy, and then the 11th guy dropped, and they're like, "Hey, we don't want to." I'm like, "That's fine." So I dropped out, and then last year was my first league I did with Duke.
Yeah, so like you didn't want to do it, but anyway. So this was like that. This was years, like obviously years ago, and so Ira and Austin got into like a big blow up. Our league was in shambles for a while, but Austin, I can't even remember over what it was, to be honest with you. I really don't. But they got into like a big argument. It left with Austin just being like, I'm done. Left the league. Chelsea had her cousin, I think it was. Chelsea's cousin came in. And then Chelsea did a bunch of trades with her cousin that almost felt like collusion. And Calvin Johnson happened to be in it. Ira was like one game out of playoff contention. With a win, he could have made it in. He played Calvin Johnson. He blew up, and Ira was irate. Pun intended. And it was like... And so there was just such a weird... There was a weird time in our league. Like, our years... 2.5 to like 4.5, 5 were really rocky. But then when we started doing the destination drafts, it kind of brought everything back together. And now our leagues, I think, it's a really good spot. So that's why that game is so memorable, the Calvin Johnson game, because it just reminds me of the chaos that was going on within our fantasy league. But that's it.
Who won it all that year?
I want to say that was year 2. And I want to say if it was year 2, that was Jared. And I believe it was year 2. And I believe that was the David Johnson that we talked about on the last pod that year. Okay. I want to say it was that. I think it was year 2 and it was Jared. But yeah, so fun stuff. It was a good time in the league. But we can move on to this Dallas game now after the fun stuff of fantasy.
That's great. Yeah, it's Commanders at the Cowboys. Cowboys are a 12.5 point favorite.
They're 12.5 now? They were like 11 a couple days ago.
Yeah, and you can still even get at 10.5, I believe. But yeah, 12.5 on FanDuel. I mean, you want to talk about this time slot. This has produced some legendary moments. Most famously, probably the Randy Moss game. 3 catches, 3 touchdowns, like a $184 or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Only Randy Moss could.
Yeah.
I don't have much expectations about this game. I think the Commanders will at least be a little competitive, but I think the Cowboys will pull away. Low key, I'm almost hoping for a Dak Picasso game. Like I hope he has like a 6 touchdown game just to insert himself in the MVP picture because
Mm-hmm.
Hurts is now the favorite, but also Hurts didn't even play that great on Monday night. Like
No,
he had a pedestrian game, which is apparently my new word, but he had a
he
very
made a big
average
time
game.
throw.
Yeah, he had
That
a
was
good
it.
throw, couple rushing touchdowns, whatever. But I mean, I would not be mad at. I mean, we've talked about this before, but I would not be mad at McCaffrey or Tyreek getting the MVP award. I think they're more worthy of it than any of the quarterbacks right now. So I
I
want
think
Dak to have a
Lamar's
big
more than
in Lamar
Jalen Hurts. In my personal opinion, I would rather give it to Lamar than Jalen. That's
for
just
sure.
me.
And maybe Lamar will have like a 3 or 4 touchdown game Sunday night against the Chargers defense, and he can
If
kind
there's
of
a team,
assert himself.
if there's a
There's a
team,
team, yeah, exactly. Because I don't even Lamar. Like I think Lamar's having a better season for sure, but MVP wise, I just think these position players got it more than the QBs right now. Granted, we got plenty of time left. But let me give you a score here. I'm gonna say 31-17. I mean, I did say Dak 6 touchdowns, so let me beef it up a little bit. Uh, we'll say 40-23 Cowboys. How about that?
40-23. I don't know why I didn't write down your first score because I was thinking about fantasy, but it was 28-24 at Detroit, right? Just want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure. Okay, just want to make sure I got it. So I have 33-21 Dallas. Real quick, I wanted to just mention the only reason why Dak's not in the MVP conversation right now is because of the 49ers game. That is, it has nothing to do with his stats because if you're comparing stats, it's 19 touchdowns to 6 picks, 104 rating. That's going to be comparable to any quarterback in the league right now. They're 7-3, so it's not a record thing. It's the fact that the one time it was like, oh, Dak in a big spot. How is he going to do? Obviously, the Eagles was a big spot. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make it sound like it wasn't, but he played phenomenal in that game, but they ended up losing. But Dak in a big spot, they beefed up this game like it was going to be the biggest thing Sunday night, and he played his worst game of the season and looked bad. So when you have the one touchdown 3 pick game, people just think about that moment, which is why this game, if this is big, and then the Eagles game, if they can beat the Eagles and he has back to back big games, like in that kind of sense, then I think that he definitely can be in the MVP race for the first time truly since his rookie season. But 33-21 Dallas, I think they roll. He's been historically great on Thanksgiving.
I just hope we get back to a point where MVP is not just a QB award. It seems like it became that way, especially during like the true Brady era, like the 2010s.
Yeah.
So I just hope we get back to a point where I want to say anybody can win it, but I mean, I definitely think there's position players and defensive players that are worthy of it, worthy of the award, especially this year where, again, no quarterback is separating themselves at all. So, yeah, I just
Mm-hmm.
hope we get to a point where, and I don't think we will, but I hope we get to a point where it could be more than just QBs.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, it should be the most valuable player. Like, if in all realistically, Tyreek Hill should be in your conversation. Christian McCaffrey should be in your conversation. Miles Garrett should be in your conversation. Those are 3 people who absolutely are the most valuable players on their team, and those teams are winning a lot of games because of it. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. I think Dak should be in the conversation, like around the conversation, but those 3 skill position, the 2 skill position players and the defensive player, those people should be in the conversation as well. So I absolutely agree with that.
So for our nightcap primetime game, Niners at Seahawks, Geno Smith is playing. The Niners are a 7-point favorite on the road. I do expect the Niners to win this game. I almost don't really know what to expect out of this game, honestly. Had Geno been fully healthy, I mean, who knows? I don't really know how bad the injury actually is. It was bad enough to force him out for, I think, 2 or 3 drives on Sunday. So I'm going to go low here. I think this defense is going to show up a little bit, but I think the Niners win handily. So I'm going to say 24-15. San Francisco.
I'm pretty close to you. I have it 27-14 San Francisco. I think it's going to be very similar to the game they played last week against the Bucks, where early on they show their class, late in the game kind of get a little bit more lax because they're confident, and then maybe the Seahawks can kind of make it a little interesting, but they don't really ever pull too close in. I think it's going to be around 27-14.
And in the first ever Black Friday game, 3 o'clock. Kind of that's the weirdest part about this game. 3 o'clock. Like, why not just put on prime time? I don't think there's
Yeah,
any. The NBA's got stuff going on that night, but like, oh, I guess it is their in-season tournament games, but still, I mean, you could put this
but
on
you
at
could have put it.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, you could have put. I mean, at the in-season tournament's going on at 2:30, so I mean,
True.
it's Magic. It's Magic Celtics at 2:30, so it's not like you're gonna do anything. You could have even put it at 5 to make it like a dinner time kind of game, to make it a little bit better for people. I mean,
What they should have done if it was truly Black Friday, put it on at like midnight Thursday going into Friday.
that would I would be 100% for that. I think that would be. I think that would be very cool if they
Or
put
2
it like.
a.m.
Yeah, if they put a 1 a.m. game for Black Friday, I think that would be. I think that would be very cool. But the players
That would be
probably wouldn't think
interesting.
so. But I think that would be. I think that would be great.
A midnight game would be sick.
I think a midnight game would be absolutely fire.
But so for this game, it's in New Jersey.
Yep,
Dolphins at the Jets, 9.5 point favorite. I don't know if I said that.
you
The
did not.
Dolphins
So
are.
good.
Tim Boyle's Jets. I can't imagine there's a world where they score here. If Zach Wilson was the QB, I'd be hard pressed to think they'd score. Tim Boyle, we read his stats last time. What was it? One career touchdown in college, maybe a little bit more.
At UConn, it was 1 touchdown to 13 picks. He threw 11 touchdowns at Eastern Kentucky. So throughout his college career, he threw 12 touchdowns. And that was he was a redshirt senior, so that's 5 years.
I would imagine this goes similar to the Bills game, where the defense puts up a fight, and then at some point they do not put up a fight. There's a chance here if the Dolphins can really put it on them. There's a chance where Tyreek really does maybe cement himself into the MVP conversation. Maybe he has himself a 2 or 3 touchdown game, or I don't want it. 200 yards against the Jets defense would be a little much, but maybe a $150, maybe a $135. I'm thinking 31-9 here. I can't again. I'll give them double digits. We'll say 31-12. 31-12. Miami Dolphins could get even more out of hand, but it all depends. But we'll keep it tame here. 31-12.
I do. I have respect for the Jets defense. I think it could be 20. I'm thinking I got 28-11. I don't know how many Friday games
So
we've had.
they get a safety.
I know they could get a 2-point conversion or 3-2. They
For
could.
scoring
I
a
don't really.
touchdown.
I think they can get a touchdown. Yes, I think that they run the ball well enough to where they can get a touchdown. I mean, DeVito put up 31, so I didn't think they were going to do anything. I think they can get a touchdown. I mean, I'm not saying they're
DeVito
getting a
was
lot,
facing.
but
I mean, to be fair, the Commanders their defense took a step back.
absolutely. They traded away their 2 of their 3 best defenders.
But
Absolutely.
DeVito is a good comparison because he didn't have the best college career either. He was a pretty just average QB in college as well.
Yeah.
But at
So
least the Jets play the Commanders well. Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe they get a Thanksgiving a Black Friday gift and they get a touchdown for all the Jets fans that are going to be out of their minds pissed watching this team get blown out, because I can't imagine a world where it's not a blowout in this game. So
yeah,
it's going
neither
to be
can
some
I.
angry fans. The weather, not sure what the weather's going to be like. Maybe it'll be an ugly weather game too. If that's the case, maybe the Dolphins don't score as much. But yeah, this should be an ugly ass game. This should be a blowout. The Dolphins should take care of business. We can get to the Sunday slate though, unless you got any more Tim Boyle thoughts.
I don't have any more Tim Boyle thoughts. It's going to be about like 48 degrees and partly cloudy, so it should be fine. And
Good throwing
I
weather for
don't
Tim.
know if there was an There's probably been other Friday games that I'm not thinking of, but the last Friday game I actually can remember was Alvin Kamara's 6 touchdown day on Christmas. That's the last Friday game I can remember. So the only reason why I bring that up is maybe we get something that special on Friday. I
I
don't
didn't
know if
even
that's the last
realize.
Friday game the NFL was, but like off the top of my head, like
Why
I
was
think that
that?
was the last one
Why was that game even on a Friday?
because it was Christmas. Like they had it was the first year they started Christmas Day games, and the Saints were there, and Alvin Kamara had a 6 touchdown game. Why I don't
So
know.
like you're saying like in the future if there's a Tuesday Christmas, there's going to be an NFL game on Tuesday?
Possibly
Because it
because
seems like
they
that.
now they have football on Christmas now. Like that's
I thought they've been doing that because it's just been falling on Saturdays and Sundays.
The first one was
I didn't
on
even
a
realize they had a
Friday,
Friday.
so which is very weird. I don't know why, but it was yeah they won 52-33 over the
Wow.
Vikings.
I vaguely remember that game. I do not remember that final score. That's insane. Uh,
Yeah,
Home game for the
so
Saints too.
it was I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll see, but it was 2020 was 2020 6 touchdown game for Kamara. That's the last Friday game I remember. There might have been a Friday game between 2020 Christmas and now that I'm just forgetting,
I
but that's
doubt
the
it.
last one. The
I
only
thought
reason
that
why I'm
I thought this was the first Friday game ever. Honestly, I didn't even realize there had been Friday games prior to this. So
and so
that's
the only
news to
reason why
me.
I bring that up is just because of the fact that hopefully we get something amazing.
Hopefully we get
Hopefully we get
something. Hopefully it
yeah,
produces some sort of legendary moment. Maybe we'll get some Black Friday jerseys. I don't know. Um,
maybe.
First game I got here for the 1 o'clock schedule. Two legendary franchises. A rivalry, true rivalry. Once upon a time, this was a banner game, but these two teams are putting out dog shit. Patriots, our Patriots at the New York Giants. Patriots are favored by 3.5. I got the Pats winning this game mainly because it's Tommy DeVito versus a Gerard Mayo, a Bill Belichick, and whoever else, maybe Steve Belichick defense. I can't imagine a world where Tommy DeVito pulls out a win. If that's the case, then I mean, that will be officially a new low if Tommy DeVito puts up 4 tutties on Bill Belichick and the crew. I don't see it happening. Uh, Shoot, 20-14, I guess. Patriots, we'll go with that.
So I'm very conflicted. I'm obviously, as we've talked about a couple weeks ago, I'm on the guy who wants to get Caleb Williams, which means they need to lose these games. And I did say after they lost, I'm going to predict them to lose all these games, even though I'd be happy with wins because I'm fine with it. So I'm predicting a 20-16 Giants win. It's a win-win situation for me. If the Patriots win, I'm happy. If the Patriots lose, we're one step closer to Caleb. So it's a win-win situation for me, but 20-16 Giants. I will not predict the Patriots to win any other game other than the Jets game. The last I'm gonna book it now. They're beating the Jets at the end of the season. That's probably what they're gonna do to ruin things. But other than that, I'm not predicting any other wins for the Patriots. They don't deserve it. We'll start back up
Interesting.
next year.
I mean, the only way I could see the Giants winning this game is if it's Tommy DeVito versus Bailey Zappi. But even then, I think Zappi's the better quarterback, even though he hasn't looked great at any point this
Mm.
year or in preseason. Uh,
Yeah,
they haven't named the starter. I'm gonna guess it's Mac, but
you
if it
would
is in
think.
fact Zappi, then then you got a chance here. But this line itself indicates that it's probably Mac. So
You
yeah, I'm
would
gonna roll with
think.
the
Yeah.
Patriots. Again, it's in New York or it's in New Jersey, so if that's a factor, I don't know. But I think they'll I think they'll outright win. The Giants do not have much talent at all outside of Saquon. So maybe Saquon Barkley has an insane game and that's it. That could be a
Yep.
pathway. Maybe we get a lot of Saquon screens from Tommy
Mm-hmm.
DeVito. that could be the pathway. But other than that, I think overall the Patriots are the better team here. Uh, this game, this is one of the more interesting games of the week to me. This would have been great had Joe Burrow still been here. I
Yeah,
picked the
absolutely.
Bengals to win, but it'd at least be entertaining. Now we're coming off the firing of Matt Canada, which I know Tim Gray is more than happy about. You'd think he's a Steelers fan; he's so happy about it, probably. But Steelers are favored at Cincinnati by a point and a half. Um, I could see a world where the Bengals win this game. Jake Browning, that's his name, correct?
Yep,
He looks competent. I mean, he's a backup,
he
but he
does.
looks like he can at least move the ball. The Bengals still have all that talent around him. This defense kind of comes and goes with the Bengals, but the Steelers can't move the ball at all. Matt Canada, no Matt Canada. You're still only getting max 17 to 20 points out of this offense. True points. The best unit in this game is probably the Steelers defense, given that the offense for the Bengals again is run by Jake Browning now. So I think this is going to be right in that 2017 zone. I'm going to roll with the Bengals just for the chaos. 2017 Bengals.
Ooh,
Go home team.
I actually, what's the spread on this?
Point and a half. Steelers favored.
I actually have the Bengals winning 23-20. I think they're gonna be a team that's gonna be frisky now.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see them being frisky, and I think Joe Mixon, you're gonna see a lot of him. You're gonna see a lot of underneath routes from Chase because he can get open in short spaces. So I think a lot of the stuff is gonna be interesting to see the Bengals and see how Zach Taylor can coach this without Burrow. They're talented. They can't go from a Super Bowl team to a terrible team, in my personal opinion, just because of the quarterback. You can go from Super Bowl to not like a playoff contender, clearly, but they have enough talent. You can't be that only quarterback centric to go from a Super Bowl contender to that terrible.
Sure.
So I think they're a decent team, and it's gonna be a weird game. They're gonna beat Pittsburgh. People are gonna be like, "Oh, are they gonna make the playoffs, or can they still do it?" And then they'll probably fall out of it, but it'll be interesting. And I think Chris Paul just got ejected, by the way. Random
really?
fun fact. The Suns are up 16. I couldn't really tell. I saw he was yelling and like kind of running towards the ref a little bit. I don't really know for what or why, but
someone's got to do it if Draymond's not there, and it would be Chris
I was
Paul.
gonna say Draymond. Yeah, so
I originally wanted to pick this game as an 18-18 tie, but I'm not really sure if that's allowed. So I went with 2017
it's always allowed
Bengals. But this game has tie written all over it. I believe, didn't these two teams tie last year? Bengals and Steelers? Or in recent memory?
Recent, possibly. Last year, no. Last year the Bengals lost week 1 because that was the Joe Burrow 2 touchdown 4 pick game, and then the second one I want to say the Bengals snuck a win.
I feel like in my lifetime, I'd have to look up the stats on this, but I feel like in my lifetime the Steelers have tied more than like any other team. Like I just have memories of them tying like every few years. It seems like I don't know what it is about Tomlin and the Steelers, but this is an ugly game, though. Next, we got Panthers at the Titans. Titans are a 4-point favorite over the Panthers. Both these teams are bad, but the Panthers are worse. This offense is terrible. Frank Reich is probably getting fired after the season. I'm going to say 21-10. 21-10 Titans. Even though their offense showed signs of life last week, the Panthers did. They tried to against the Cowboys at least. Like they looked a little more lively, whatever the fuck that means in their case. I'll be nice. 21-13. I'll give them, maybe they get 2 touchdowns and a missed extra point there. So 21-13 Titans.
Yeah. I've got the Titans myself 22-19. I think it's going to be close. I don't mind this Panthers team at times. They're not good by any means.
What does that even mean?
But I don't mind.
What do you mean you don't mind them?
But don't. I was about to say, but I don't mind. I mean, like offensively, from time to time they can move the ball. I more so meant I don't mind this Panthers offense. I think Bryce Young and Adam Thielen have a decent connection, and Chuba Hubbard's been running better than Miles Sanders. So it's once in a while they can put some drives together.
Once in a great while.
That's about that. And once in a while they can put some drives together, and the Titans' pass defense isn't great, so they can make it semi-close with a Titans team that doesn't have the real capabilities of blowing them out. But maybe they blow them out just because the Panthers are that bad. So I don't know. But 22-19, this is a game I could not care less about.
Speaking of that, game you probably will care about.
Also, Kyle, just wanted to quickly say, I was looking up tied games because you're talking about it. 2020, the Steelers tied with the Lions in 2021. I'm looking at overtime ties, obviously, because that would be what it would be. The last tie for the Bengals was 2020 with the Eagles. Funnily enough. I'm looking here. The Steelers tied with the Browns in 2018. But as right now, actually, what it's looking like is possibly the Steelers or the Bengals have the most, or the Browns have the most ties. The AFC North has easily the most ties, which wouldn't, if you're going to pick a division, it would be the AFC North, just because that's how they roll.
It's a true story.
That's just how they are.
Well, this is the biggest game of the 1 o'clock window. It's the Jags at the Texans. Mm-hmm. The Jags are favored by 1.5. This game will tell us a lot about both teams. I'm going to roll with the Jags here. I don't really know what to expect. I mean, you could tell me the Texans are going to fall flat on their face. I could not easily, but I could foresee a situation, a scenario where it ends up being 28-17 Jags. And I'm actually going to pick that. I don't know why. It's more than likely going to be a good game, but I'm going to say the Jags roll away with this one, 28-17. They take control of it. There's no real reason for it, just what I feel. But it very well could be a 3-point game, 1-possession game. Very well could be the Texans running away with it. But this is a game that the Jags need. They lose this game, it's going to be a big confidence boost for the Texans. And we talk about MVP. Depending on how he plays, that could shoot Stroud right into the MVP stratosphere. I mean, he didn't have the best game against the Cardinals, but this could vault him right back into the conversation.
So I think you're right. And in most years, I would pick that kind of thing where the Jags are they're the more conditioned, more seasoned team. Obviously, Trevor, they went to the playoffs last year. Doug Peterson is a veteran coach. You have a rookie coach or a rookie quarterback on the other side. He started to show his first signs of being a rookie. Last week, a couple bad picks, which is fine because, again, he wasn't going to go his career with being perfect, so it's going to happen. But they still managed to win the game, too, so that's good on his part that he was able to get them to still in position to win. I've actually got a Texans 27-25 win because everything about CJ Stroud has not been what's expected. And I think this is going to be another one of those instances. I've got 27-25 Texans, but yours makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, mine's more of a pick. I mean, it's kind of the same as last week. I mean, I picked the Cardinals.
Yours is a smarter pick.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, he's got to regress. You know what I mean? I mean, I would be shocked if he came out and had another 4 or 5 touchdown performance or even a 3 touchdown performance. You know what I mean? Rookies just aren't supposed to do that. That being said, the quarterback play in the league in general, we talk about it every week, is not great. And he's immediately in that top 15. That's being nice. He's probably even top 12 already. The Jags, however, I mean, yeah, they made it to the playoffs last year, but they've proven each year, last year, this year, each year since the Urban Meyer era, no matter how talented they are, you just can't trust them at all. I mean, they just love turning the ball over when they're not supposed to, love turning the ball over in the red zone, love fumbling at the worst times. So this is ripe for a Jaguars loss. The only thing missing is it being Jaguars at home and them having a heartbreaking loss. But it's on the road. It's going to be a true playoff atmosphere. I cannot wait for this game. Like I said, it's great that the rest of these games Actually, minus the next one we're talking about, it's actually a low key good game. But the rest of the games are kind of whatever. They're going to be good. They're going to be competitive. But we can really focus on this game in the 1 o'clock window. And again, it'll tell us a lot about both teams. Uh, they will be facing each other very soon as well, right? Like if not, it's not 2 weeks from now, is it, that they play each other?
Who? Sorry.
Jags Texans.
No, they already played once.
Did they?
Yeah, the Texans won 37-17. Week 3,
God
I
damn.
think.
And they won handily.
Yeah, no, it was a good, which is why the Jags need this game more than anything, because if not, the Texans would have swept the season series, and the Jags right now, I think they've lost. Obviously, they lost 3 games, so they would have 2 division losses. I think the Texans also have 2 division losses as of right now.
Yeah, Jags lose this game. They're textbook frauds. They got to win this game.
Yeah, they absolutely need to win this game, because the Texans. Yeah, I think the Texans would have only 1 division loss as of right now, and that was to the Colts in week 2, and otherwise they haven't lost in division yet because they play the Colts again. They haven't played the Titans yet, so if they can get 5-1 in the division, or even 4-2 in the division, but still have the tiebreaker with the Jags, that makes the tiebreakers at the end of the season even more important. So this is a must-win for both teams, really, but especially for the Jags, because they have the Super Bowl aspirations.
Absolutely, yeah. They at least got to take that next step.
Yep.
At least have a competitive divisional round game if they make it that far, if you're the Jaguars. But at this point, it's, will you even? I mean, they should be a wild card, but never know with this team. Next, we got Saints at the Falcons. Falcons, for some reason, are favored by 1.5. I think they have no business being favored in this game, whether that's Ritter or whether that's Heineke. I think they have no business being favored at all. It looks like it'll be Ritter starting. Cool. I mean, again, this Falcons team has all kinds of potential. I dislike their play calling. They don't get the ball to their playmakers at all. I think the Saints at least have an identity. Saints at least get the ball to their playmakers. Saints at least have a good defense. I'm all over the Saints on this game. I think it's going to be the Saints 27-20, full touchdown.
I have the Saints winning 23-21. I want the Falcons to win.
That's the Falcons' rule, to win or lose by 2. So
yeah, I would love for the Falcons to win, just because I like them more than I like my guy Bijan from Texas. So it'd be nice for them to get a W. They're gonna play call their way out of this game. Essentially, how it's gonna go.
Yeah, Saints are by no means a great team, but they're at least a good team, and they're at least a competent team. You know what I mean? They can pick up first downs. They won't call themselves out of it. Got a good defense. Like, they just have players all over, which the Falcons do too. But I mean, at least Heineke was kind of getting the ball to their playmakers a little bit, and then he's gone. They're gonna go back to Ritter. So I don't have the greatest confidence in him. He has had moments this season. I'll give him that, but
yeah, I don't Packers. He had big games. He had a big plays against the Packers to go win that game against them. Like, he's had a couple big plays and big moments, but they need a QB. Like, they have too much offensive talent, and their defense is good enough right now that they could easily win this division if they had a good QB. Easy. That's not saying much.
Go bring back Matty Ice. Have him sit in the pocket. Next,
might be more competent.
Speaking of teams, I don't understand why they're favored at all. Buccaneers at Colts. Colts are a 2.5-point favorite. I don't understand that at all. Give me the Buccaneers here. 28-15.
I don't have that much of a lopsided game. I actually have a closer game, but I do have the Bucs winning. I have it 24-21.
Then next, we have the Rams at the Cardinals. Rams are on the road but favored by 1.5. I think this is actually going to be similar to the last game the Rams had against the Seahawks. I think this is going to be an ugly, low-scoring-ish game. I think it's going to be 21-20. Go with the Rams. They got playoff hopes. So we'll say, actually, give it 23-20. We'll give it a full field goal game. Rams win.
23-20. I've actually got the Rams 25-20. Kyron Williams is coming back, and so he's been running the ball really well for them this season before he went on IR. And I think they're going to get back to running the ball because one underrated thing about all these new offensive coaches, LaFleur, McVay, Shanahan, all of them, they love to run the ball. Like running the ball, they love to run the ball because their favorite thing is play action because it gives you the best looks and everything. So that's why it's so important still to run the ball in football. I know sometimes it can be, we think it's just such a passing game, but running is so important. So, but I got 25-20 Rams.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Going back to the fantasy topic. Today was our trade deadline. Why was the deadline at noon? Why not make it like 8 p.m.? So we have like a true window. I was like, oh, let me go, like, because me and Joe were talking about some trades the last 2 days. And I'm like,
I don't actually remember why we set it at noon. I think we just had set it at noon. I mean, we can talk about it next year and change it to 8, but I think we just had it set at
even 4
noon.
p.m., but like, I went to go send Joe a trade at 1 o'clock. It was actually like 1 p.m. on the dot. And then it would not let me select any trades. I'm like, there's no way it's.
We can bring it.
Like, there's no way it's the deadline's right now. And then I look, 12 p.m. I'm like, oh, my bad.
We can definitely address it next year. We are very open with changing with rule changes and everything like that. So we're much open. And hopefully this year we have a true destination draft that we get to plan it out now to get back to what we do.
Could go to Jamaica.
Listen, whatever we do, it's gonna be a lit weekend, like it's always been. It's gonna be a lit weekend. We're always gonna have fun. It's required that we have a Tom Brady is not the GOAT conversation with Joe DiZazzo, so that's like a required every year thing. I don't know why it's baked in, but you can bake in an hour of why Tom Brady's not as special as he is.
You know what? We've had that conversation with Joe before, and I almost feel like he's come around to it at times. Like I feel like he's conceded a little more. Like yeah, like I don't think he's the GOAT, or I don't like, but I see why he is. So I feel like he's let up. Like I feel like Joe's
let up a little bit, yeah.
Because I mean, like the last good debate we had, me and him actually agreed on. Like he just took a step too far. Was like, I'd rather build around a pocket QB than a running QB. Granted, I want the Patriots to get a running QB. I just want a completely different style. But in general, I just think pocket QBs stay healthier. But I think he said something like, he said he would take someone like average that was a pocket QB over Lamar. I forget who it was.
Yeah, he just said he has a problem with running QBs like that, and that's the thing with him is he just always takes it a step too far. I understand the sentiment. Who he said, like
though? It was like it was someone average. We're like, come on, we would not take him over Lamar. But I was like, I agree with you. You're probably it's a safer bet to build around a pocket QB than it is a running QB for sure.
It's safer to build around Joe Burrow than it is to build around Lamar Jackson. Like Joe Burrow's like what but Joe Burrow's the quarterback of the pocket QB that you want. Mm-hmm. He's gonna stay in the pocket, but he can run on third down. He can extend a play. Like that's the pocket QB, and especially in today's game, that's what you want is the guy who wants to be in the pocket, is surgical there, but if it's 3rd and 7 and the lane's open, he can go get you 7. He can go get you 10 if you need it. That's kind of, but you can go on. Next game.
This is actually an entertaining game. I like this game a lot. This could breed a lot of chaos, truly. It's Browns at the Broncos. Broncos are favored by 1.5. As I'm reading all this, I have no idea who I'm going to pick. You could tell me the Broncos are going to win this game. You could tell me the Browns are going to win this game. Their defense doesn't travel as well as you'd think. I'm actually going to go with the Broncos, even though they're gonna give Russ hell. But I'd be surprised if DTR won 2 games in a row. The Broncos do have talent all around. It's not like they're an amazing team, but they do at least have talent. They'll win ugly. I'm going to say something like 24-17. 24-18 for a weird score.
So I actually have the Browns winning this game 19-14. I I think it's gonna be one of those games that's just gonna be messy the entire time. It's just one of those weird games that like both teams can't really move the ball, and maybe it comes down to a big Russ turnover at the end because the defense is good enough to make them, and it just comes down to that. But if the Broncos win, I'm not shocked by any means. So it's not like it's a oh my god the Broncos won kind of thing for me, but I think I do think that Cleveland's gonna pull out the dub.
Broncos very much struggled against the Vikings defense. They did pull out that win, but I mean, they struggled mightily and they struggle against aggressive defenses. Russ struggles against the blitz. He's not as athletic anymore, so he struggles to get out of the pocket. Granted, he's made some great plays out of the pocket too the last few weeks, but
Oh
he's
yeah,
missing that burst though. But I do think they pull it out. But hey, the Browns win this game. You got to feel good about their playoff chances for sure. Uh, Next,
for
we got the
sure.
Chiefs at the Raiders. Chiefs are favored by 8.5. I'm gonna roll with the Chiefs here, 27-17. Bounce back win for them after their loss to the Eagles.
I've got them 30-19. I think they come out and make a statement early, and they kind of just their defense wins it for them late. Nothing too special, nothing too crazy.
And then the best game we have of that late afternoon window, Bills at the Eagles. Eagles are a 3-point favorite. I think this is a crazy game. I really do. I think the Bills, they're obviously the most desperate team here. They're going to be playing for their lives the rest of the season, really. I got the Eagles winning 28-25. I think the Bills are going to have a great effort. I think Josh Allen's going to have a great game. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would be surprised if the Bills pulled it out. I really would be. But this would be the game, though. Catching the Eagles after the Chiefs, catching the Eagles off a big high. Hurts didn't play well. So if this defense can show up at all, which it's not likely for the Bills, but hey, if you could get a shootout and then they get the ball last, you never know. But I'm
Mm.
rolling with the Eagles 28-25.
I actually like the Eagles here too, but I have it 35-32.
Mm.
I think this game's going to be super high scoring. Um, the the Eagles' pass defense wasn't particularly great against the Chiefs. They just dropped a lot of balls. They were miscommunications on some routes, and Stephon Diggs can get open. Gabe Davis can get open. Shakir can get behind the defense if need be. So I think that the Bills will be able to move the ball, and they're going to play playing desperate. And Josh Allen's due for a Josh Allen big game. Because even against the Jets, like he was good, but he wasn't like, oh my god, this Josh Allen guy is special. He's due for one of those. He hasn't had one in a minute, so I think he's due for one of those. But I think Jalen Hurts is also due to show, like, yeah, I'm really that guy. So I think we'll be walking out of the weekend maybe talking about Jalen Hurts like definitively being in that him and Lamar two-head race for that MVP.
Yeah,
Speaking of
I mean,
last year, but
I picked Hurts before the year to win MVP, and the way he's playing, him being the front runner on a site like FanDuel, um, I would be mad if he won. I truly would be. If everything stayed chalk right now, like if he was playing at the same pace as he is right now,
yeah,
everybody like including Tyreek, including McCaffrey, and Hurts won it, I'd be upset at that. Just like, what are we saying this award is? You know what I mean? Um,
yeah.
but I mean,
Tyreek's gonna have to get like Tyreek will have to go for 2K if he's gonna win it. McCaffrey, I think, has played his way out of it, and I don't. He hasn't played bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make it sound like he's played bad at all, but it's like he went from being spectacular to really good, and for him to win, he had to be like
wait, because of
the
the
year.
1-0 touchdown game he had.
No, it's just like his last like weeks of yardage has been like 78, 95, 54, 45, 43. It's because they have so many weapons offensively that they're now taking away Christian McCaffrey. So it's like, okay, Brandon Ayuk last game had a buck 56, or George Kittle has been going off. He had 143 a couple weeks ago. So just because they're so good at spreading the ball around and having to use because they have so many weapons, That's the only reason why for me that he went from being absolutely spectacular statistically to just really good because he's getting good yards per carry, plus he's doing in the receiving game too. So, but as well as I know, we saw Derrick Henry run for 2,000 a couple years back and not win it. You have to go crazy as a skill position. So I don't think realistically, I don't think he has a chance. I actually realistically think that Tyreek has like a super outside chance. That he just has to get to 2,000.
Difference
He's
with
gonna win.
those years though, I would say is I think we at least had some outstanding QB play. Whereas this year it's very middle of the road. Like Mahomes hasn't separated himself. Hurts, his angle would be his rushing ability. That would really be his angle here because as a passer, it's been average. Uh, we've
Yep.
said Lamar has a chance to separate himself. I really think McCaffrey, though, given the Niners schedule that they have coming up, like they got a lot of big games. They're going to be featuring him a lot in those games, of course. Like I think he'll get even more touches. The last couple games have been, pretty easy victories for the Niners. Uh, I think he could play his way back into the conversation again.
Oh, there's definitely a possibility.
Whatever that is, because again, I really don't know what we're doing with the MVP award at some points in years like this, but we'll see. It'll shake itself out over the final stretch here.
Like if Tyreek just went for $146, if he can go for 200 like this coming week in a big game, especially because it's against Sauce too, he'll be seeing like big time corner. He lit him up, and then a couple good 100-yard games to get to that 2,000 mark. 10 touchdowns at least, then I think they get to maybe 12-5. Then I think, actually, he's already at 9. They'll get to 16 touchdowns. Jeez, that's a very big possibility. It's possible for him.
It's possible. Next, we got for the Sunday night game, the Ravens traveling to LA. I think this is going to be a good game, an entertaining game. There's no way the Chargers win this game because there's no way they win these type of games. They just find a way to lose. Whether it's Staley, whether it's Herbert's receivers dropping balls, whether it's Herbert just happening to not make that play, they find ways to lose. I'll have the Ravens in this game 35-28.
Cool. 35. What's the spread, sir?
3.5 Ravens.
3.5. So I've got the Ravens actually 32-20. I know I have a lot of confidence right now in this offense. As we talked about a little bit before, I think Austin Eckler's taken a little bit of a step back in speed wise. I just don't think he looks. I don't think he looks like he has the burst he used to. Keenan Allen's really their only weapon right now. So I think that they're good, but not great. And defensively, you can obviously do whatever you want. This is a game where I believe Lamar will put himself again, as I just barely said, it'll be him and Hurts as your two MVP horse races, biggest horses. And my favorite right now is going forward, if I had to bet for the remainder of the year, would be Lamar. Because I think he could get because right now they're the 1 seed too. And if he can go 5-1, possibly, and he could get the 1 seed plus playing well, I think he would be the guy to get it. And 2 MVPs, that's different category for you, especially in the NFL.
Absolutely. That is rarefied air, multiple MVPs. Lastly, Monday night, we got the Bears traveling to Minnesota. Minnesota's a 3.5-point favorite. I mean, look, Dobbs is brand new to Minnesota. We know this. And the Broncos showed you last week that if you blitz him, given that it is a brand new team and given that he hasn't had a lot of practice with these guys, it can be a timing issue with him. Yep. And the Bears pass rush has improved. We've mentioned Fields can put points up on you, whether it's by scrambling, whether it's by, a deep ball. They can sneakily put up points on you. I would not be surprised to see the Bears win this game at all. What's our matchup, by the way? I know I was 3 games behind you. What are we at now?
We are 90. We're each 97 and 67.
Oh, wow,
you
tied
it up last
up.
week because you had the Bengals. I had the Bengals last week. You had the Ravens. They won. I had the Steelers. You had the Bears. Browns. They won. And then you had the Eagles. I had the Chiefs. The Eagles won. And then those are pretty much the games that we had differences on. So because of that, we are now tied.
I'm going to go Bears here 24-23. Purely for chaos reasons, and I could just see it.
I've got Minnesota 27-21. I just think they're a little bit better of a team. That's really what it comes down to. But again, I really could see the Bears coming in and Justin Fields playing very sound football and the Bears winning this game. We've got 3 games different this week. So regardless of how it goes, it's guaranteed that one of us will be in the lead. Guaranteed.
Very interested to see how this goes, but good to know I tied it up.
Yeah, you've been working back. You've been every week clawing your way back up, and it's 97-67 right now. We're both tied.
There we go. Hey, 30 over 500 for each of us. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. No, that's not. I was gonna say. I know it's not against the spread, so people might think it. But I mean, just picking games, that's fine. We should do it against the spread a couple games a week next year, just to see kind of what we are. Maybe going 3 games like we actually choose.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little different. I mean, because I mean, I'll admit, I mean, there's plenty of times I come in here and give picks, and I bet completely the opposite.
Yep.
But there's times I do just like make my picks that I picked on here, as far as like money line goes. Like if it's an underdog situation, like I had the Cardinals money line last week, and I had the Cardinals covering that 5.5. They did cover, but they obviously didn't win. So, but there is times where I'll be like, yeah, pick such and such, and then I will bet completely the opposite. But yeah, I mean, we could figure out a way to do that, or do picks of the week or something like that.
Yeah, like if we like afterwards just doing 3 picks of the week. Like I'm just looking at this week. This week's kind of. I don't feel confident in this. I wouldn't feel confident in this week at all. I'd probably, even though it's a tough line, I'd probably go Miami 9.5. Like I just don't see how they don't get to at least a 10-point victory. I would probably go. I would go Baltimore the -3.5, and then because I don't see how they don't. I would think that they should win by at least 5. I wish that would be at 3, and then that'd probably be the 2 that I could think of. There would probably be one more I could find, but as of right now, if I had to just look right there and bet, that would be the couple.
I mean, the one that sticks out to me, I mean, I already said it, is Saints going to Atlanta and getting a point and a half.
Then
I just don't. I think any field they play on, the Saints are a better team, and I think the Falcons are coming off back-to-back losses. So, I mean, who are they to be favored over really anybody, but especially the Saints right now?
the other one, honestly, I might go would be Chiefs. I know, and I don't like to go big, but it might be Chiefs 8.5. Like I think coming off of a loss, I think that I think just the Dolphins and the Chiefs are just 10 double-digit wins. I would be very shocked if they were. I mean, not shocked if they weren't. Because like if it got to 8, like on a backdoor cover, it's not the most shocking thing in the world. But I would just expect it to be double-digit wins.
Yeah, I mean, never know with divisional games, but yeah, you would expect.
No, you really don't.
I mean, I had it 27-17, so yeah, you would expect that the Chiefs could cover against that. I mean, there's times where Aiden O'Connell looks competent, then there's times where it's just like they can't even move the ball. So
yeah,
either way, well, we are 4 minutes from it officially, 3 minutes now, officially from being Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for, Keenan, in the sporting world? And music world. If you want to go music too, we talk enough music on here. Is there anything music-wise you're thankful for?
Actually, I'm thankful for Drake's Scary Hours. I was talking about how I was hoping he wasn't going to drop it, like how he said that in the line. I'm actually thankful for it. I think, little quick thing, I think that Drake's Now For All the Dogs album plus the Scary Hours album is a good album. And it could be good to like 8.5-ish if he was to cut out songs and rework the order and actually just have put it all together as one. Because I like a lot of songs on it. It's just the fact that there's a lot of filler, there's a lot of not cohesion to it, and with the Scary Hours, I think it fits the theme of what was actually supposed to be the album, which is for the actually for the dogs.
Yeah.
So I guess that's me.
I'll just respond to that. First of all, Duke is very eager to get back on here and discuss the deluxe album. Uh, and that's what I'm going to call it. That's exactly what it is a deluxe album. I don't even know why he put the
Yeah,
Scary Hours tag on there
I
because
don't know
it's
either.
so that's whack. Drake does some shit like that where it's just clearly for spins, for content purposes, whatever. Because I'm expecting an EP, and all we got was, yeah, we got an EP, but it was the 6 songs added
Six.
to
Oh,
the original for all the dogs. Uh,
yeah,
and it was Drake rapping, and all that. And I got to be honest, Keenan, I've hardly listened to it. From what I skimmed through it, it sounded great. Drake sounded great. Cole sounded great. The beats were great. But I'm like, why? Like, why am I getting this 3 weeks, 4 weeks after the original release? Maybe 6 weeks. I don't know how long it's been. But why? I mean, I said last Thursday when we recorded, I'm like, I could have waited on this. This is the first time I'm really not eager to hear what Drake has to say. Like, we just heard from you. We see a lot of artists who are of a big caliber, of a large scale, who are not on Drake's caliber as far as superstardom, who will do the same thing, who will release an album. I think even Future did it, where he released an album and the very next week the deluxe came out. We've seen Young Thug do that. Uh, and I'm just like, cool, but like, why? And so for Drake to do that tells me something. I don't know what he was searching for here, whether it was just more clicks, whether he really felt the need to get this music out, or what
he.
it
I
was.
think that I really think that the negative reviews from it bothered him. Like, there's a lot of negative reviews from like people who actually matter. Like, leading one was like Joe Budden. Obviously, had his review. I don't know if you saw the
Yeah, but
podcast where they
even
talked about it,
even then, he didn't even
but like,
really he didn't even give a negative
not they didn't
review.
kill it. It wasn't he didn't kill it, but it was like I feel like a lot of people were wanting more and felt like with what the album title was, the album didn't live up to what the album title was supposed to be. Again, I think that the album to me felt more. If you would have named this one "Certified Lover Boy," it would have made more sense to me. That's just like the original, just because like how many songs he's singing and just like how he is, like what he's talking about for the most part. Obviously, you have songs like First Person Shooter, which is like that feels like, oh, that's for all the dogs, but like BBL Love, Members Only, uh, Tried Our Best, even Virginia Beach, like all these, he started it off, and you're like, okay, this doesn't feel like for all the dogs, but the six that he had put out with it, I wasn't super excited to listen to, but I had time and I was like, oh, I actually really like all six of these. And if he was to have worked that into the album, the actual album, and would have put that out, I think that he could have had he could have had a good to very, not very, very good, but like a good to pretty good project, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Drake's a great artist, an all-time
Mm,
great artist, obviously.
of
But I mean,
course.
I'm there was points between the views to Scorpion period where I was kind of Draked out, so to speak,
Yeah.
like where it's just like Drake fatigue. But I think like officially even more so. At least I would hear songs then and be like, oh, I like that. I mean, I said here I haven't really gone back to For All the Dogs at all. I might have even said that after CLB, but even then, some stuff would pop up off of CLB. I like it, whatever. But I got the same feeling from both of those two albums. Again, I've said it time and time again. Her Loss is one that I continue to go back to even to this day. I love that album. But For All the Dogs and CLB, they seem like part one and part two to me as far as the effort put in, as far as the content. Again, there is good music. There's even great music on there. It's just, I don't know. I don't hear the same motivation from them. Uh, I'll let you get back to what you're thankful for, because I was about to go on a whole other music tangent. Because actually, Kanye and Ty Dolla dropped their first single. It leaked over the
Mm-hmm.
weekend. That's an amazing song. Uh, it's got Dirk in it. It's got Old Boy in it. I cannot remember his name right now. I think it's something six. I don't know his name, but he's a newer rapper, I believe, or he's a Chicago rapper, whatever, whatever. But that song's crazy. Anyway, what else are you thankful for when it comes to music, when it comes to sports? Bump
Um,
J. That's his name. Bump J.
so I'm thankful. I'm thankful for how the NBA is. The in-season tournament, I'm actually thankful for. I think it's brought a lot of good competition, a lot of interesting competition. And I think it's going to breed good. It's going to breed good, healthy playoff atmosphere by Christmas. And with that, and then at that point, everybody's already 20 plus, like about 20 games into the season. So people actually have to start caring about the season anyways, because with how vast the league is. So one thing I want to quickly mention too was, did you see Tom Brady say that he thinks the league's mediocre? I think it's because I was talking a little bit with Daniel Reed about this. I'm thankful for Tom Brady saying that. I really am. That's and that's gonna be the last thing I'm thankful for. And the reason why is because he echoed your sentiments. I think you watched the podcast, probably saw you say it, and then wanted
That's
to.
exactly what
He didn't want to.
happened.
He didn't want to credit you for it, probably. But Tom, we love you here. But so I was thinking about it, and like the quarterback play is, and a lot. I watched the entire thing in the interview that he was talking about with Stephen A. and how social media is kind of giving people like almost giving people clout already before they actually completely earn it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how like I looked up to Michael Jordan on the cover of Sports Illustrated, on the cover of like say GQ, whatever, and like how hard he had to work to get to that. So like when I knew I had to put in this amount of work for this many years and got to get that accomplishment, and that was accomplishment. And which is why it's so crazy to think like LeBron was the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was like 16 years old, and you're like, oh my god, like him already, and it was completely warranted too. So the fact that that is the case with a lot of these quarterbacks, it kind of does leave a lot to be desired, and they don't work on the X's and O's. And he was talking about how like the ball placement's different, the amount of mediocre is different. Plus, thinking about it too, you could argue right now you have some of the most talents that you've ever had at wide receiver.
Yeah, it's been
So
a
like
wide receiver boom.
so like because I'm thinking about it, like you just offhand, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, all of them, like Adam Thielen, it's like 20, and that's not even like, and like normally someone like Adam Thielen would
20th
be
best
like what
receiver.
George, yeah, roughly around there, and like someone like that would have been close to like what Jordy Nelson was a few years back, and he was like a top 10 receiver. He was playing top 5 because of how he was playing with Aaron Rodgers, but like there's just Adam Thielen's a very good receiver. People could argue like he's not an elite on style of number one because of the fact of how many just good receivers there are in the league, and we're getting more come in the league. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to step in and be just as and be right in that category, in my opinion, within maybe the first 3 months he plays. But it's just crazy that you have the best crop of pass catchers maybe we've ever had, like as a collective, and you're getting some of the worst quarterback play. It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't
You
make
would think
sense
that
at all, and it especially doesn't make sense given the last generation of QBs we had. You're coming off Brady, to some degree, both Mannings, Rodgers, Breeze, Phillip Rivers,
Big Ben.
Big Ben, Stafford, Jay Cutler, even if you want to throw him in there. But a lot of those guys,
Mm-hmm.
just within the last 12 years, Flacco, uh, all versions of QBs we've seen in the 2000s and the 90s, like it just makes no sense why there isn't more Trevor Lawrence types. Like I know like Andrew Luck retired early, so we lost one, but I mean, we've gone through it. I mean, after you get to 10 to 12, after you get past the Geno Smith range, you got a lot of mediocre quarterbacks. And if you would have told anybody on earth that's an NFL fan 4 years ago that Geno Smith would be in the top 15 quarterbacks, let alone starting, they would have said you're fucking crazy. So I mean, that
For good
tells you,
reason.
yeah. And props to Geno Smith for having a career comeback and everything. But I mean, that just tells you what the landscape is. Because I mean, like I
And
told you, we talked about it earlier. I looked back to the 2013 season, all the way down to like the 24th best QB. I would take over a lot of these guys. And these were guys maybe we didn't even like at the time. But you look at it and you're like, damn, they could definitely outplay such and such who's here today.
I'm looking at it right now, Kyle. I'll read off a couple names just because we're talking about it, and then um. So obviously we mentioned Manning, we mentioned Breeze, we mentioned Stafford, Matt Ryan,
Yeah, absolutely.
Andy Dalton,
Yeah,
Carson Palmer, Ryan Tannehill was fine, Joe Flacco, Tony Romo, Cam Newton. This
exactly.
is 2013.
Exactly.
Alex Smith. This is RG3. Colin Kaepernick. Nick Foles was 27 touchdowns to 2 picks that year. Jay Cutler. Like, the difference between those quarterbacks and today's quarterbacks is like, yeah, if you want to just say in a vacuum when you go out to the empty practice field, who can throw from better angles and who has more arm talent and things like that, yeah, you could argue that today's does, just because like
I wouldn't even argue that.
this is how, like, with all the camps and everything.
I wouldn't even
But I
argue
mean,
that.
regardless, the argument,
All the guys,
whatever.
all the
Like,
guys you
even if
just
you
named,
don't argue that, that's fine.
all the guys you just named, like Kaepernick and Cam, and all those guys are
Yeah,
infinitely
they're
more
super arm
talented
talent.
than the Pickett's, uh, Desmond Ritter. Who else we
Oh,
got?
absolutely.
Jordan Love.
Oh,
I mean, those
absolutely.
all the guys you named in those are on the bottom tier of that particular year. You know, Matt Ryan. I mean, all these guys are. Matt Ryan was ready to play day one when he came in the league. Uh, Cam Newton is more like what you see
That's where I
today.
was getting to.
Cam Newton is more like what you see today as far as the project QBs, like an Anthony Richardson. He gets compared to him a lot. But I mean, RG3, Kaepernick, Alex Smith, all those guys, whether from a game management perspective or from an athletic perspective, I think all these guys had more ability than, let's say, at least half the league.
And,
At least half the
and
league.
that's it. And but what I was saying, and even if that is the case, what I was getting to with that was purposefully, they're just professionals. They're professional level quarterbacks. They come in, they do the work, the homework. You come in and you don't feel like you feel a drop off clearly, but it's not to the point where you're like, this team goes from, oh my god, they're like really good, to this team is going to be terrible. Like, the Jets went from at quarterback play, like, wow, the Jets possibly could win the Super Bowl, to they're gonna be this is gonna be tough to get to 20. Like, Jake Browning, he just feels like we've talking about it, and we'll see if he actually is, but he just feels like a guy who is like, okay,
What a backup
he seems,
quarterback should be.
yeah, he's like, he feels pretty solid. Like, he looked confident, competent, and they looked like they got someone like Joe Burrow, which is what you would want to try to get. But he feels like a guy who, when we watch him on Sunday, if Monday we come back here when we're potting and he 210 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, I'm not shocked. Like, if he just makes the right decisions, I wouldn't
Be a
be
little
like,
shocked against the Steelers.
I guess because it'd be the Steelers. So, like,
at
if
least
you
one
said,
interception,
or 2 touchdowns to 1 pick, even, I'd be
I
like,
believe
okay.
that. I believe that.
I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, so that's pretty much. I'm thankful for Tom Brady saying that. I'm thankful for the NBA and how talented the NBA has been and how the product they're putting forward. And I'm thankful that Drake put out new music, the six pack. So
Man,
that's what I'm
with. Drake. I did not hear the part of the interview where Tom Brady said, you know, it feels like these guys are getting clout before they really earn anything. Because I've never really thought about that from an NFL perspective, but I can certainly identify that in the NBA
He didn't
space.
specifically use the word cloud. I'm paraphrasing that, but he
Sure.
basically said, like, these guys are on social media and they're getting they'll have 100,000s and
Yeah.
millions
No,
of
I
followers, and they think that that's
no, I
enough
completely
validation for you. I'm just
I
saying
completely get
exactly
it.
what
I'm
he's
saying
saying.
I agree with him. I'm saying I haven't picked that up culturally from the NFL. I'm saying from the NBA perspective, I completely like that's completely happening with all the top draft picks in the
Yeah,
NBA. And it's part of the reason what's made NBA fandom hard is because, man, like you can't have sensible debates anymore about players. Like you say anything detracting a guy, you're a hater. But at the same time, I'm not even going to get into it, but there's certain player stands who like want to rip down a player and then, you know, for having no rings or having less rings. And then if you make that same argument about said player, it's, oh, well, he didn't have this. Like, there's just not sensible arguments anymore. And it just seems like, yeah, you can't even talk. I've seen this in the media. It seems like you can't even like rip a player anymore because so many people are like, oh, he's done that. Like, he's averaging 20. Like, cool. Yeah, he's averaging 20, 24, but on a bad team at what cost? Like, what does that, even mean? So I especially see that in basketball where players are just like full on celebrities before they even get in the league. Sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. I mean, that's across every generation, but now it seems like it's 15 to 20 guys who are just super famous before they get in the league. And sometimes almost none of them pop. Sometimes it's only a couple of them that pop. So I definitely understand where Tom Brady's coming from there.
Yep.
I'm thankful for this in-season tournament. As you were talking,
Mm-hmm.
though, I kind of got this like, well, first let me say I'm thankful for it because, like you said, it's breeding competitiveness. It's breeding a sense of just winning, sense of postseason early on in the
Yep.
season, right?
Urgency.
Which I love. Thing is, though, that tournament is going to end, I believe, on December 9th or December 11th, somewhere in that range. Uh, the worst
Yeah.
part of the NBA season, or the most just boring part of the season, the most blah part of the season, is pretty much the stretch after Christmas into the All Star break, right? Late December
Yep.
into mid February. And I think, and this is going past what I'm thankful for, but I think we're going to get to a point eventually where All Star weekend, the All Star game goes away. Maybe we still keep the dunk contest and 3-point contest, but I think eventually we'll get to a point where the in season tournament takes over All Star weekend. I think that makes sense. Um, I mean, you've heard me. I hate the courts. I hate some of these jerseys they have for the in season tournament. Like, they're just as ugly as can be. Um, it's funny too. The best name they could come up with is NBA in season tournament, and then you got the players on the sidelines with warm up shirts that just say in season tournament. It just looks ridiculous. Like, it looks absolutely ridiculous. But I do love the
Yeah. They need to.
competitiveness that it's
They need
breeding
to. Mm,
for sure. No, they definitely
they
need to
definitely
change
need
it up.
to put names on that.
Something, and they'll eventually get a sponsor for it, I'm sure. But I cannot wait for this tournament. That's
The
in
in season
Vegas.
tournament trophy, is that what they're gonna call it?
Probably, yeah, yeah. On some
Like
on some
not like
2K
a
shit.
Larry O'Brien or something like that, but like the the in season tournament trophy. Yay. It's like, oh, it's cool. We got the in season tournament trophy.
the Kevin Love, the
Oh
Kevin
yeah.
Love Trophy or some shit like that, or whoever the greatest regular season coach, the Don
But you
Nelson, or I don't know. But I can't wait to see how this tournament shakes out. I'm most thankful. I think I said this in the past. I'm super thankful for NFL Red Zone. I think that's an amazing product. It's the gift that keeps on
yeah.
giving. It's a lifesaver each and every Sunday when you need to catch up on games. It's fantasy, obviously. If you're into betting, covers all bases. So Sunday ticket as well, I'll throw in there. Obviously, that's an updated product. Sounds like it's a much better product than what it was prior. So Sunday ticket in
Hmm.
red zone, you got to be thankful for. And then, yeah, as an NBA fan, I'm liking this in-season tournament. Very interested, like I said, to see the after effects of it because again, it's going to drop off after that. We're going to have a good 20 to 30 games in between that, between then and the All-Star game. So will players continue to play? Will there be more load management after the fact? I know you still got to have 65 games to be eligible for awards. Will players actually take that seriously? So it raises a lot of questions for me. Um, what am I thankful for music wise? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe the Thursday night midnight releases, how standard it is. It's always good.
Hmm.
Even when you don't think there's going to be a release or there's nothing you look forward to, you can always find something good there. So I always
Yep.
appreciate that routine of Thursday and a Friday at midnight. Oh, what's up for new music? We got this. Boom. It's been a great music year. Uh, by the way, happy Thanksgiving since it's officially Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving
Happy
to
Thanksgiving to
you, Keenan.
everybody.
I will see you soon.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll be seeing you soon. We'll be recording in person, so that'll be cool. But yeah, yeah, red zone is what I'm most thankful for in the sporting landscape. That might be a boring answer, but
Yep.
that's really what I got right now. So, but
Red
overall,
zone.
thankful for the NFL season, the gift that keeps on giving. Thankful for the UFC too. They've got an amazing product, and they will be having their last big event here in a few weeks. A couple fight nights in between there too, but their last pay-per-view event will be, I think, December 16th. So it's been a wild year in UFC. Uh, can't wait to talk more UFC. I think we'll be having Trent on hopefully soon, more often, and you can catch me and Trent on Live Take hopefully soon, doing some more UFC. But yeah, amazing product they have
Absolutely.
there. So yeah, UFC that calendar year, the NFL, and I'm glad for the NBA to peak its relevance here with this in-season tournament. So those would be the three things I'm most thankful for in the sporting world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was the Warner Brothas podcast.
A very
You
late
can
edition,
follow us very late.
after
You can
dark edition.
the after dark edition of the Warner Brothas podcast right now. It's like 12:18 a.m. You can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Warner Brothers podcast. Kyle seems a little upset about something. Not sure what that could possibly be. Um, Thank you to all of you guys. We're very thankful for everybody who supports, watches the show, comments, listens in, and gives us stuff, feedback, and everything. So we're thankful for all of you, 100%. Definitely check us out. We'll be cutting up more content, of course, because we are the Warner Brothers podcast. We are the Warner Brothers. Kyle, Keenan, we're out.